my beautiful little unicorns, welcome back to my channel, and thank you guys all for tuning in again. So if this is the first time that you're on my channel, I'm Vanessa Samina. Welcome to the fam. So as you guys know, I upload readings for each week unfailingly on each weekend. So today is another one of those. So I have 5 groups prepared for you regarding your next week and what you need to look out for and what sort of unexpected things may be happening for you next week. So we have the first group, which is the Aventurine, then we have the second group, which is the Azurite, the third group is the Amethyst, the fourth group is the Libyan gold Tektite, and the Lapis Lazuli. So if you need a minute just to meditate on the 5 groups in order to make the right choice for you, feel free to pause the video right now in order to meditate on the cards. So you guys, as usual, the timestamps will be down below in the description box so you can fast forward to your individual reading. And also I would just like to point out that if you feel drawn to 2 groups or maybe even more, feel free to tune into 2 readings, as your personal reading may be a mixture between multiple different ones. Guys, I really love creating these weekly readings. I think they're so fun, and it's just like a way for us to keep connecting like each week and like exchanging what happens each week. So make sure that you leave a comment down below if something really hit home or if you feel like something really resonated with you. And also if you found this video insightful, helpful, uplifting, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. That would help my channel immensely. So guys, you know I like to keep the intro very short so we can get straight into the readings. So I'm going to start off with group number 1, which is the Aventurine. Okay, group number 1, you chose the Aventurine. So who is this gemstone for? This gemstone is for anybody who needs to just let themselves shine and show off their sparkle. So I want you to focus next week on not dimming your light, if that is maybe something that you feel like you've been doing, or if you feel like your light has been dimmed down a little bit for whatever reason. Keep, repolishing yourself, keep shining, and don't let anything dim your light. So moving into your reading, we have Kuan Yin, we have Freya, Lady Portia, the clear quartz, the amethyst, as well as the Rado cross-eyed. What I see in your reading is that next week you have to be gentle with yourself. Next week you need to take time for self-care, as I see that you've been through a lot and it's important for you to take time to heal and to recover. So self-care is something that you can obviously practice just by letting yourself shine. That is actively practicing self-care, but you can also run yourself a nice bath, indulge in that extra piece of cake, give yourself just anything that makes you feel good about yourself. Make sure that you focus on feeling all your emotions, as I can see in the clear quartz that is something that is essential. So has there been lately emotions that you feel like you've been trying to sweep under the rug? Have you been trying to sort of tell yourself I shouldn't really be that dramatic, or I shouldn't really feel that way? So I see that next week you have to stop thinking that way. You need to sort of give credibility to all your emotions. Don't just pick and choose which emotions are sort of allowed to be here and which ones aren't, as it's important for you to feel your entire rainbow spectrum of emotions and appreciate all the emotions, because without any form of sadness, it wouldn't be clear what happiness is. And without any form of heartbreak, it wouldn't be, clear what love is. So know that there's a reason to be grateful for all emotions that you're able to feel, and make sure that you embrace them. And in the amethyst, I can see that next week you have to allow people to see you for who you really are, as that is the only way that they will truly love you. And I see that it's important for you to know that in the Lady Portia, you have to listen to what you feel is right. That has a lot to do with revealing your true self, because usually you can tell that it's wrong when you're sort of putting on a facade, or you're not completely being honest or yourself in front of somebody, and it usually feels kind of wrong. So know that an important lesson is unfolding next week, as Lady Portia is here to say to you. Just knowing that being yourself is not going to cause any harm, or is not going to be, social exile. That is something very important, as I can feel that maybe other people's opinions may be really important to you and how they perceive you, etc. Maybe it's important because of your job, your occupation, but either way, you have to still reveal who you truly are, as you cannot build a stable foundation in relationships if you're, not being yourself. And in Freya, I can see that you have to keep in mind that there is a new beginning with every ending, and sometimes you feel like there was a storyline there, and then when it sort of goes away, you realize that some things may have been illusions. So that may have to do with, relationships. It may have to do with a romantic sense or just platonic relationships. But either way, know that illusions are going to be revealed to you, and know that every ending means a new beginning, and know that any sort of disappointment means that you will in the end, be uplifted again. You're not going to be disappointed forever. There are people who are going to prove you right, and there are people who are going to prove you wrong. But what is most important for you to know next week is that it's going to be a time where certain things are going to be revealed to you that you may have suspected for a while now, good or bad, but either way, the truth is going to come to the light. And in Kuan Yin, I can see that next week you have to choose to love yourself as well as do what is right for everyone involved, including yourself. So, pairing that up with the Grotto Cross-Eye, which is here to let you know that you have to be gentle with yourself, and you have to make sure that you put in time to just give yourself a little bit of that extra love and that extra TLC. Kuan Yin is here to tell you that you also have to look out and make sure that the situation is right for everybody as well as yourself, but you also have to offer a helping hand. So sometimes, people may need help, but they feel uncomfortable to let you know. And next week, you should be that person who just offers the helping hand voluntarily without somebody needing to yell out, please, can you help me? Be that person who sees when somebody is in need and then offer them a helping hand in return, just to sort of strengthen that bond of love, just to strengthen, the fact that you are love, you are compassion, and you are a beautiful, kind soul. So group number 1, that is the reading that I received for you for your next week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next reading. Okay, group number 2, welcome to your reading about your next week. You chose the Azurite. So first off, the Azurite is for people who need to explore their depths, who need to be less vain, and that's not meant in a negative way at all. We're all vain to a certain extent, and we all, care about superficial stuff. But next week is a week for you where you really need to look that in the eye, that tendency, that human tendency in the eye, and be like, you know what? I don't need you. So let's look further into your reading to figure out how that is going to impact your next week. So we have Mary Magdalene, we have Krishna, Serapis Bay, the Peridot, the Unakite, as well as the Opal. So what I see in correlation with just materialistic things is just the fact that you have to move into your true self, and you need to rise above any of the sort of standards that societies may set out for us. So it can be really hard to not be a part of it, if you know what I mean. For instance, when the latest trends come out, the latest makeup, the latest music, whatever it is, I want you to know that you don't always have to be a part of everything. And next week is a great week for you to know that you should be committed to your spiritual guidance instead of, what the media is pushing on us. Because at the end of the day, what the media is pushing on you is not always the best for you. You know what is the best for you, and your spiritual guidance knows what is best for you. The media is usually very much financially driven and is not here for our best interest. So know that in Krishna, you have to devote time to all of these things that help build you spiritually, as if you just watch, on the media, if you just educate yourself through the media, you're not going to reach your fullest potential. So reach out in order to listen to inspirational podcasts, to watch videos that inspire you, because oftentimes in the media, there isn't really much that is very uplifting and that helps you with spiritual growth. So sometimes you need to seek that out yourself. And in Mary Magdalene, I can see that it's important for you to share whatever it is that you feel like you have to share next week, and you have to follow that inner calling and not let anything stop you. So maybe there's something that you have to share next week. Maybe it's a secret, maybe it's something that you've been wanting to tell somebody for a long time, or you feel like you have a service to this world that you have to offer, but you've been maybe a little bit shy to speak up about it. But next week is a week where you have to say whatever you feel is of importance, that is somehow, just living within you and needs to come out. Know that it's important for you to ascend from any sort of cave that you're in, from any sort of place of solitude where your idea is not really being brought to light, and know that you have to ascend from the darkness into the light next week in order to make the best of your situation and in order to be able to grow as a person. And in the Unakai, I can see that any work that you put in next week is going to pay off pretty instantly. You're going to feel supported by the universe, and it's going to be very clear that your spirit guides are here for you and that, you know, prayers are going to be answered. So I want you to know that you have to let yourself sort of sparkle and shine. You are guided to be bold next week, to show your bigger than life self, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. So know that any prayers will be answered with ease. So know that any naysayers next week are just, you know, little obstacles in your way. It doesn't really matter what other people think. What is most important is that you let yourself shine, and make sure that you don't dim yourself in order to fit in with somebody or a specific community. So in the Peridot, I can see that next week is a great week for life lessons. It's important for you, you know, as mentioned in Serapis Bay, to rise from the darkness into the light and to know that any sort of negative reoccurring patterns can be broken. However, what you do need is devotion. What you do need is trust in your spiritual guidance, as Krishna has already suggested. So I want you to know that next week is a great week for spiritual growth, as well as, you know, just ascending from any sort of dark, dim place that you've been in into this spiritual sort of place of bliss, of abundance. And just keep in mind that any sort of materialistic thoughts, any sort of materialistic thought processes are not here to serve you, and it's important that you detach yourself from them. You know, that could exactly be that reoccurring negative life pattern. You know, the fact that you really want something, or you see something on social media and you feel like you will be fulfilled once you reach that, gain that, attain that, and then when you actually get it, it's like an anticlimax. It's like not all that it was meant to be. So really think about that. If that is your reoccurring negative pattern, or it has to do with materialistic things, with vain things, know that it can be cured. You know, it's natural for humans to be like that, and it's not a big deal. I mean, we all have those tendencies. However, what is a big deal is the fact that you take it seriously and that you work on it, and that you make sure that it does not become the epicenter of your life. Group number 2, that is the reading that I received for you. I hope you enjoyed it and found it insightful, and I will see you in my next video. Welcome, group number 3, to your reading about your next week. You chose the Amethyst. So who is the Amethyst for? The Amethyst is for anybody who needs to connect with their highest self, who needs to get drunk off good vibrations. And you know, an amethyst is just a stone that raises the vibration of basically any living space. So if you have an amethyst, make sure you put it somewhere that is visible, that you can see, as that is something that will lift your vibration not only next week, but probably for a very long time. So moving further into your reading, we have the Shekinah, we have the Divine Director, we have Mercury, the Apatite, the Rose Quartz, as well as the Citrine. So what I see for you next week, group number 3, is the fact that there is new or renewed romantic energy in the air, and it's here to just fully embrace you and just give you like that warm, fuzzy feeling. So if you are in a relationship, I see that next week is, you know, a week where you can renew your romantic energy, where you sort of feel like a new connection with your partner again, and you spark again. And if you are single, you know, next week is a great week for dates. It's a great week to meet new people, and you may just, you know, meet that little someone that puts a smile on your face. It may not be the one, but it's somebody who temporarily gives you like that spark of joy and that feeling of being loved. And in the Apatite, I see that next week you must focus on progress and not perfection. So maybe you're somebody who sort of tends to be a perfectionist. Maybe, you know, next week you have something that you need to hand in, or something that is coming to a completion, to an end, and you sort of feel like your project is not perfect and it's not exactly how you want it. I just want to let you know that sometimes you just need to be grateful for making progress. You just need to be there for any sort of moving forward, rather than beating yourself down for not being perfect. So keep in mind that that can just cause sort of unnecessary burdens, unnecessary friction in your life, as I can see in these Citrine, that Next week is a week where you have to release any sort of worries, anything that is causing anxiety, as I see that, it's not necessary. It's most likely just caused by you. So how can you figure out whether these worries are necessary or not? So just think to yourself, will this still be affecting my life in 2 months' time, in 2 weeks' time, in 2 days' time? And the answer could be no to all of those. So why are you stressing out? If something is not going to impact your life deeply, there's no reason to put so much emotional energy and so much friction into your vibrational and energetic field. So in the Shekinah, I can see that you have to express your gifts. You have to sort of dance to the sacred rhythm of life. So it's important for you to not neglect any of the gifts that you have. You have to unleash your spirit as well as who you truly are. So if that means you just need to dance next week, or you just need to sing your soul out, make sure that you do that. And also keep in mind that we're all very different. We all have different ways of expressing ourselves, and the way you express your gifts may be so different from the way somebody else expresses their gifts. So don't discriminate yourself, and know that as long as you're true to yourself, people have more respect for that than if you're just trying to be something that you're not. So express your gifts, express your personality, and don't be shy to really unleash any sort of energy that is pent up inside of you. And in the Divine Director, I can see that divine intervention is occurring, and it's important for you to know that the intervention is here for your happiness. So if you feel like you've been going down a route and all of a sudden it's being interrupted next week, and you're like, I need to get from point A to point B, know that whenever the universe has these divine interventions, it's usually for your best interest, and usually that route was never really meant to be. So know that life has a way of protecting us from what was never meant to be ours, and has a way of redirecting us onto a route that fits us individually better, if you know what I mean. And in Mercury, I see that you have a weight on your chest. You have something that you have to speak about, that you have to communicate openly about. So if there's something that has been bothering you with your mother, your brother, your best friend, whoever it is, or if you're just in a store one day and somebody is unnecessarily rude to you next week, just get it off your chest. Don't go home and think to yourself like, I should have told that person, hey, maybe you're having a bad day, I don't know, but there's no reason to really let that out on me. You don't need to make my life more difficult just because you're going through things, because sometimes it's best to ignore situations, but sometimes you also get out of a situation and you're like, I wish I would have just told that person that actually I'm not okay with being treated like that. I'm not okay with being spoken to like that. So know that next week, do not skip out on the opportunity on that, because it will bug you and you will feel like you missed out on openly communicating about what you feel and what you will tolerate and where you set your boundaries. So group number 3, that is the reading that I received for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next reading. Hello, group number 4. You chose the Libyan gold Tektite. So the Libyan gold Tektite is for anybody who needs to banish their blahs, is for anybody who needs to banish any sort of wishy-washy situation. So that is, for instance, if somebody that you've just been casually seeing has ghosted you or has left, or you just have situations and relationships in your life that are undefined, but you would like to define them, if you know what I mean. So that is who this stone is for, also for Cancers, by the way. So yeah, let's delve into your reading about your next week. Okay, group number 4. So we have Commander Ashtar, Saint Germain, Archangel Michael, the Larimar, the Smoky Quartz, as well as the Malachite. So what I see for you in your next week is the fact that you may be extra sensitive next week. I see heightened emotions, and I see that self-care is something that you have to practice next week. So I definitely feel like self-care in the Larimar has a lot to do with the Smoky Quartz, which is here to let you know that you have to clear out any sort of negative energy. So know that a way of clearing out a negative energy could be by smudging. It could be by just, you know, meditating, having like little spiritual rituals with yourself. And just, you know, self-care is something that you have to constantly be practicing and constantly be keeping up with. And when your emotions are so heightened and sensitive, you know, it can be very easy to overreact to things. So I want you to be very cautious when it comes to that next week, as it's easy to lash out at the people close to you and the people who you love, just because yeah, you're just going through a lot, you're feeling sensitive, you're feeling vulnerable, and you know, it's just natural for humans to sometimes lash out or sometimes succumb to their emotions and their feelings. However, in the Malachite, I can see that there's like a positive shift in your flow of divine support. There's a positive shift in the vibration around you, and that could be just because, you know, you are sort of cleansing negativity next week, because you are sort of getting rid of it, or that could just be naturally your time, you know, depending on your zodiac sign and where you are in life. It could just be naturally a time where the universe is gravitating in naturally positive shift of divine support into your life. So that is something that you have to look forward to. And in the Archangel Michael, I see that you have to sort of just trust. You have to let go of any sort of tight grip that you're holding on things. And I want you to know that you have to surrender to any concerns, because just being worried and just overthinking is not really doing any good. I mean, when does it ever do any good? But it's very important for you to know next week that, you know, don't overthink things. Sort of surrender to how the flow just makes things happen, how the flow just even things out, and know that karma is something that is releasing next week, and you have got to avoid drama. You've got to create your own path and make room for good energy, as already mentioned in the smoky quartz, where you're releasing toxicity. Make room for everything that is good, for everything that is healing, positive energy. And I want you to keep in mind that you have to create your own path sometimes. You know, it's not always already paved for you. So while you're going with the flow, know that it's important for you to go with the flow sort of at your own pace, to move beyond anything that makes you feel pressured. And last but not least, in Commander Ashtar, I see that next week you have to take charge of a situation. You have to lead by example, and you have to be the bigger person, so to say. So maybe there is a situation of friction that is causing you to feel all your feels, girl, to feel all of your emotions. And it's important for you to know that you have to lead by example. So just because somebody is being petty or behaving in a way that like you do not condone in order just to, you know, hurt you or just to be petty, don't give them that same thing back. Be the bigger person and lead by example. Lead by showing like, hey, I'm the bigger person. I don't need to do these petty things. I don't need to play petty games. I can just move on with my life and, you know, cancel out anything that is sort of like a wishy-washy story that is not serving me any good. So know that taking the lead next week is something that will be very beneficial to you and something that you definitely should be looking into. So group number 4, that is the reading that I received for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next video. Hello, group number 5. Welcome to your reading about your next week. You chose the Lapis Lazuli, so I would like to tell you who the Lapis Lazuli is for. So the Lapis Lazuli is for anyone whose thoughts are not their friends. So maybe you've been going through a very conflicting stage right now where you're sort of confused with yourself, what you're thinking. So if you feel like your mind has not been your friend recently, that may be a reason why you chose the Lapis Lazuli, or it resonated with you because you're a Leo, a cat person, or you just liked how it looked like. That's fine too. So moving further into your reading about your next week, we have Odin, Horus, we have the White Eagle, the Aqua Aura, the Lapis Lazuli, as well as the Moonstone. So we have double Lapis Lazuli going on. So as I already mentioned, the Lapis Lazuli is especially for cat people or Leos, but it could also just be that you're channeling Leo energy, which is very outgoing energy, very almost a little bit cocky energy, if you will. So I definitely see that in the Lapis Lazuli there is an epiphany coming for you. There is some sort of like life-changing experience, and it's a change that is going to change your life for the better. I see that it's a time of a big change next week, and you need to follow sort of like your intuition. You need to follow however you feel like you should be receiving the change and how you should be reacting to it, as I can see in the moonstone that you have heightened intuition here for you next week. Know that being like extra aware of your inner knowings and extra aware of the fact that it is in fact trustworthy and that it's only here for your highest good is something that will help you through any sort of big life changes or this epiphany that you have next week. And in the aqua aura, I can see that it's important for you to know that heart-to-heart discussions next week are very beneficial, and that you must sort of exert healthy communication in relationships. So I definitely see that you may feel maybe a little bit misunderstood next week, and you need to know that being very clear, assertive, as well as communicating in a way that cannot be misunderstood as much as you can really help clear up a situation and let that person feel understood, which then in turn leads them to wanting to understand you more. So see how that works with giving the other person an open ear and trying to understand them first usually leads to them trying to do the same in return for you. So focus on not getting your point across too aggressively, but think of what can I do for the other person in order to make them want to do that same thing for me. So have a very selfless approach to communication next week. Have a very selfless approach to how you speak to people, as I see that that will be more beneficial than just trying to get your point across. And then the white eagle, I can see that next week you have to connect with your lineage, your family, maybe people older than you in your family, and a family wound or a family pattern can be healed next week, okay? That is something that is possible. So if you're meeting up with a family member that you had maybe like a little argument or a dispute with, or you're not doing so well, next week is a great week to extend an olive branch, as we already have in the aqua aura. Healthy communication is something that you will be able to work with next week, as long as you focus on being very clear and focus on what you can do for the other person. And in Horus, I can see that your thoughts are super magnetic and powerful, and you have to be aware that miraculous changes can only happen if you let them happen. So know that you have good energy around you. Know that you have like heightened intuition, as well as sort of very powerful thoughts, but know that powerful thoughts need to be dealt with care. So make sure that you don't give power to any negative thoughts, to any self-limiting beliefs next week. Make sure that you only give power to good thoughts, as those will help manifest those good things into your life. So tell yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm worthy, I'm able and capable. So the more you tell yourself that, the more you will be able to manifest it, and like the more your magnetic thoughts will be like a magnet to pull those positive things into your life more. And last but not least, in the Odin, psychic insight is something that is essential next week. It's something that can help you move further down your path to success. So as already mentioned in the moonstone, you have heightened intuition here, as well as the fact that your third eye is open, that sense that you can't really describe. So I want you to see truth for what it is. I want you to follow your intuition, and I want you to also be a little bit skeptical next week. So if somebody just sort of is trying to sell you something or tell you a story that you're not sure of, know that your third eye, as well as your intuition, has been extremely heightened next week for a reason, and it could be to protect you from any sort of deceit and anything that does not serve your highest good. So make sure that you make use of it and that you listen to it, as there is a reason why you've tuned into this reading, and there is a reason why the universe is here to tell you that your intuition, as well as your psychic insight, is super heightened and aware next week. So group number 5, that is the reading that I received for you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next reading.